the looping statements. Looping statements. In the last class, we learned the conditional statements, unconditional statements, where we are implementing the conditional and unconditional statements. Today we will learn where we are using these looping statements, in which cases we are using looping statements in C programming. What is loop? The name itself, what is loop? Loop means we are repeatedly doing something. That means we are in a loop. For example, try to consider a real-time example. If your mother is saying to buy something from shop, what will you do? You will go to the shop, buy that thing, come back. Then again the mother is saying that you have to buy something else. Then again you will go back to the shop, then buy it and coming back. Then again if mother is saying something, you will go coming back. That means you are going to the shop, coming back. The same procedure is doing again and again. Right? So how we can avoid this so many times going to the shop? How we can avoid? We can take a list of those items what we have to buy from the shop first, then take the list, go to the shop, buy it and come back. With one time going to the shop, we can get all these things, right? So that's an example for real-time example of this looping. So in C, how we are implementing these looping statements? These looping statements are used when we want to repeatedly execute certain statements. That means if you want to execute a statement repeatedly, in that case you will use the looping statements. There are mainly 3 looping statements. First one, for. Second one, while. Then third one, do while. For example, if I want to print my name, 10 times, how will you write in your program? As far as whatever you know, how will you write your program? You should use 10 printer, right? If you want to print my name as 10 times, you will write 10 printf and like that, you will write 10 printf. So that means I just want to repeatedly execute the same printf again and again. So in that case, you can use any looping statements. So another example, if I want to print my output like this, so usually how will you do? You will write printf 0, printf 1, printf 2, printf 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I have to write 7 printf. The same statement I want to execute repeatedly. So in that cases, you can use this looping statements. You can use either for, while or do while. You understood where we are using looping statements in C. Now we will learn each looping statements with its syntax, and there we are particularly using each looping statements. First one, for. Syntax. For. Open the bracket, then initialization, semicolon. You should use semicolon, then condition, semicolon, then update or modify, closing the bracket, then opening the curly bracket. Whichever statement you want to execute repeatedly, those statements you will write inside this code. So statements, then closing. This is syntax for. For initialization. Initialization means how will you initialize a variable. We learned how to declare a variable, how how to initialize a variable. How to initialize a variable? For example, if I am using a variable I in my program, I equal to 1. This is initializing the variable I. That means we are assigning a value to a variable. That is what? Initialization. Then next part, condition. Condition or text expression. We are checking certain conditions. In conditional statements where how the statements are executing. Based on the condition only, those statements are executing. Here also we have to check certain conditions. Then only the statement has to be executed. We will write the condition here. The next one, update or modify. Update or modify means it should be incrementing, decrementing. That means changing the value. We are making changes to that particular value. So for example, the same example what I told earlier. How to print the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I told that if you want to print these values, you will write the 7 printer. So you can avoid this by using the looping statement. We learned this for loop, so now we can write a program with for loop. So first, how will you start the program? Hash include stdio.h. You are including the header file. Why you are including the header file? Because you are using certain inbuilt functions such as scanf and printf. Then next, in main, you are writing your main function. Then opening curly bracket. If I am using one variable, so that is why I am declaring that variable. Then what? I just want to get this as output. That means I want to execute that printf repeatedly. So I am using a looping statement 4. First one, as per my syntax, it should be initialization. That means if I am using a variable, its value should start from where? It will depend upon how your output should be. Here my output should start from 0. So my I value should start from 0, semicolon. There should be a condition I less than how many times? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means it should be less than 7. Then I plus plus because these values are incrementing. Then open the curly bracket. Whichever statement we want to execute repeatedly, that we will write. This statement here I want to execute repeatedly, my printf statement. So I am writing printf. I want to print integer value, so that the format specifier is %d, then comma. From where should I get the value? I am taking my value from I. Then semicolon. Then I am closing this. Then return 0. Then if you want to print this output in different lines, you have to add /n. So if I am writing my program like this, how should I get my output? In main, your execution will start from main, starting from this line, coming inside. I declared a variable I, then coming to this for loop, I value initialized to 0. Now 0 less than 7, then condition is true. So coming inside for loop, printing 0. Then next verb. After executing those statements inside the for loop, the control will go back to the increment part. So how this execution is happening? Initialization will happen first. Second, you are checking the condition. If the condition is true, the control will come inside the loop and execute those statements. Once all statements executed, then the control will go back to the update part. That is here, this increment part. Then incrementing the value. Then again coming back, checking the condition. Then if it's true, it will go inside. Then it will execute. This repetition will happen until your condition gets false. In for loop, initialization part is executing only once. This for loop is also an entry control loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How we can write it with while? Again, how we can write it? As usual, you have to start including your header files. Then, starting with main. Then, I'm declaring those variables I am using. Now, I just want to repeatedly execute my printf. So, that I am writing inside using this while. Printf. It's an integer value, so first will be I am using a variable I. This much I know. I know that I have to use one looping statement and using the while, and I want to repeatedly execute this printf statement. Now I just want to get the condition. What should be the condition? Condition means it should be, I take the condition I less than or equal to I less than 7. I should be less than 7. And I have to initialize my I value as 0. If I am starting from 1, my I value should start from 1. So this part is the initialization and declaration. Both I am doing in single statement. Then here I am checking the condition. While if the condition is true, then the control will go inside and execute those statements inside the while loop. Then after execution, again the control will come back here and again checking the condition. If the condition is false, then only the control will go to those statements after this while loop. So if I am writing like this, should I get the output like this? No. Why? Because whenever I am printing my I value, whether my I value is only 1, whether my I value is getting incremented. No, you have to increment the I value. Then only each time when you are printing, the I value should be changed. So if I am writing my incrementing I value, I equal to I plus 1 outside the while, is it correct? No, it has to be inside this while loop. Why? Because this statement also I have to execute repeatedly. So you have to write this inside this while loop. I equal to I plus 1. This is how, and last you have to write the return 0. Why return 0? Because you are telling your OS that I am terminating the program successfully executed my program. If you are writing return 0, you have to specify here the return type int. If you are not returning any value, you can write void here. This is how you are using while loop. So while loop is also called as entry control loop. Here we only know the condition. So this is how the while loop executes. Then next one, do while. Third one is do while. Syntax for do while. You have to learn all this syntax, then only you will get the correct. Even though if you know the logic, if you don't know the syntax, you won't get the correct output for the program. Do, open the curly bracket, whichever statement you want to execute repeatedly, that you will write, then close the curly bracket, then write while, open the bracket, and you have to write the condition, then close the bracket, then you have to put the semicolon. This is the syntax for do while. Do while is also called as exit control loop. Why it is called exit control? In the name itself, in the exit part, we are checking the condition. So in do while, whatever the statement you are writing inside the do while, that will get executed once without checking the condition. Whatever the condition, can be true or false, it doesn't matter. Those statements you are writing inside do while, that will get executed once without checking the condition. That is the difference between while and do while. In while, how it will work? We check the condition first, then only those statements inside the while get executed. In do while, those statements inside the do while will get executed once without checking the condition. The second time, it will check the condition. If it's true, then only those statements inside the do while will get executed. So we can write the same program with do while also. If I want to see my output like this, how can I write my program with do while? Starting with main, then whatever variables I am using, I am declaring that, then I am writing do while. Each statement I want to repeat my printf statement. So I am writing my printf statement, percentage d, comma, I, semicolon. I have to implement my I value each and every iteration, so that I am writing, then while, what should be my condition? I should be less than or equal to 6. Then close the bracket, semicolon. Then after that, if there is any statement you want to execute, that you can write. Then return 0. Then closing the main. So I have to initialize my I value as 1. I should be initialized as 1. Here how the execution is happening. Start from main, then the control will come to the next line, then next line I is declared and initialized. I did the declaration and initialization in the same line. If I am writing like this, in I, that means only declaring. Here what? Both declaring and initialization are done in the same line. Then next what? Next I am writing my loop statement. Which loop statement? Do while. Do, then coming next line, curly bracket, coming inside. Here I am not checking anything. Whatever statement I got inside the do while, that will get executed. So executing percentage d I. That means 1 get printed, then I value implemented. Then after that, those statements inside the do while executed. After that, coming to this while part, we are checking the condition. Then if the condition is true, then only it will go back inside this do while. The condition is false, it won't go inside. So that is the major difference between while and do while. While is called as entry control loop and do while is called as exit control loop. And in do while, whatever statement you have writing in do while, that will executed once without checking the condition. In while, whatever statements you are writing inside the while, that will get executed by checking the condition. The condition is true, then only those statements get executed. And for we are using, if you know how many iterations, how many times I want to repeatedly execute a particular statement, particular block of statements or statement, then you will use for. These three are the main 3 looping statements that you will use while writing C program. Hope you understand looping statements.